No surprise, Mahomes at 1, Burrow at 2. I'm not even mad about Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson at 3, 4, and then Matthew Stafford at 5. Gets dicey a little 6 through 10, but we'll talk more about that later. In the meantime, let's talk a little bit about Jordan Love, because Bart Scott is back here with me. Mike Tannenbaum is joining us here as well, and there's Robert Griffin III. Okay, let's go to Mike T first, because if you have an ear, Mike Tannenbaum will tell you how much he loves Jordan Love, and this is going to be no different. And so, Mike Tannenbaum, I know you love Jordan Love, but do you believe that he is a top 5 quarterback already?
Yes, and if the four of us were starting a team tomorrow and we had to throw out Patrick Mahomes, Jordan Love would be the quarterback that would be the best quarterback to take for the next 10 years. And you guys just showed the highlights of the Dallas game. That was no fluke. Let's go back over the last 9 weeks of the season, guys. 7-2, 21 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. And here's the scary part. They're going to be better this year because they were so young. When we talk about Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, and then you look at Luke Musgrave, and what did they do? They went out and added a great young running back in Josh Jacobs. The only question about this team was that left tackle, David Bakhtiari, has been in and out of the lineup the last couple of years. They drafted Jordan Morgan, who to me is a starting left tackle. I thought when you really watched Jordan Love last year, guys, I thought he processed incredibly well pre-snap. He knew where he was going with the ball. He was accurate. And when you can do that at 6'4" and to be as athletic as he is, he checks every box. And again, to go 9 weeks and have 21 touchdowns and only 1 interception, what we saw against Dallas and San Francisco in the playoffs, guys, was not a fluke. He played great, and the sky is the absolute limit.
He played great, and Dallas also played horrendous. And so does that qualify him as a top 5 quarterback, Bart Scott?
Listen, I don't know if he's the best quarterback within the division. I think, Jared Goff has a lot to say about that, and I think the division still goes through the Detroit Lions, who I think had a tremendous offseason. Jordan Love, listen, it's tough whenever you see quarterbacks getting their first start. I say this all the time, especially as a defender. You don't know what to expect, right? You don't know what they do well, what they don't do well. Now we have a huge sample size, and defenders and defensive coordinators are breaking him down to see what he does well, and they're going to force him to fight left-handed. And so when you think about C.J. Stroud, you think about Jordan Love, I have to wait and see before I decide where I will put them as far as the pecking order in the NFL. It started off great, but we've seen guys they don't call it the sophomore slump for a reason, right? Because can you adjust to the adjustment, and can you have a counterpunch when teams figure out what you don't do well and they force you to do that more often than not. He's got a tremendous start. He learned behind Aaron Rodgers. And listen, this is one of the youngest teams with a bright future, but I'm not ready to crown him yet. If you want to crown him, you can crown him, Mike T. I'm not doing it.
1 yes, 1 no. RG3, what do you think?
Shay, listen, Jordan Love is not a top 5 quarterback, and I'm going to look at this holistically because I understand where Mike T is coming from. He's saying if you're starting a team, is there more than 5 guys that you would take before you take Jordan Love because of his age, because of how he finished the season last year? And the answer to that is yes. I would still take 5 guys before I take Jordan Love. Now, if you're talking about even in a top 10 respect, listen, there's 10 quarterbacks right now that are ahead of Jordan Love from even getting into the top 5, and Jalen Hurts isn't one of them, and he's trying to get himself back into the top 10, top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. Mike T, I got to say this, man. If 9 weeks is all it took to crown somebody, I'd be in the Hall of Fame, okay? I'd be in the Hall of Fame because I had a hell of a rookie season. The advantage that Jordan Love has over me, because we both play in the same offense. Matt LaFleur was my quarterback coach when I was in Washington. So we played in the same offense. He has the advantage because he's not coming off of an injury from the year that he had. So he can have exponential growth over the course of the next 4 to 5 seasons. But I'm not taking him over Patrick Mahomes. I'm not taking him over Lamar Jackson. I'm not taking him over Josh Allen. I'm not taking him over Joe Burrow. Brock Purdy, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, the list goes on and on. There are 10 guys ahead of him. I love his game just as much as Romeo Doubs does, but he's not there yet. He can potentially get there, and I think at some point he will.
More fundamentally, the reason I would put him so high up on the list, besides Patrick Mahomes, all those quarterbacks you mentioned, RG3, they all have been hurt to varying degrees, and I think the underrated aspect of Jordan Love's game is his athleticism and his movement in the pocket, and that bodes well long-term to stay healthy, and be it Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers. We just talked about a whole bunch of great quarterbacks, but they haven't been able to stay healthy. And I think with this young offensive line, this young skill group, and his ability to process quick, get rid of the ball, but when he needs to move, he can. Those are all indices to me that he has a reasonable chance to stay healthy for a long period of time.
The craziest part about this is Bart brought up, like, he could be the best of the new crop. Jordan Love isn't that young. I mean, he was drafted in 2020, but because he had to sit behind Rodgers, it does feel like he's kind of part of this new crop of QBs. But nonetheless, Mike T, I'm sorry, but I have to side with the guys. Like, he had a good second half of the season, yes. And yes, the Packers didn't have a wonderful run game last year. They were very middle of the pack. They didn't have everyone clicking on all cylinders, really, until they played Dallas. But in just the division alone, I don't know that I could say he's the best quarterback, let alone top 5. The only one I'll disagree with RG3 on is there is no way that he is less than Justin Herbert. He has definitely superseded Justin Herbert because he's won a playoff game. But we'll save that argument for a later day. But let's go to this question now. If you're going to look specifically at the NFC North, would you take the Packers or the Lions to win? We'll go all day later on, RG3, on that. But Packers or Lions? And Mike T, since you love Jordan Love so much, would you take him over this Lions squad and Jared Goff?
No, look, I'm Packers all the way. Now, look, I think the real variable here, Shay, is going to be Jeff Hafley. He was the head coach at BC. He's now the Green Bay Packer defensive coordinator. Really interesting decision there. You got to give that, to be a grade of incomplete. Detroit's defense is markedly improved. I love Dan Campbell, part of the people that hired him in Miami to be the head coach. So I think it's going to be 1 and 1A. But again, I just think Green Bay's offensive upside is the tiebreaker.
Offensive offside. I got to go with the Lions. The Lions have a much better, explosive offense as well, have a dynamic tight end, and with the addition of DJ Reader and Marcus Davenport giving Aiden Hutchinson that type of assistance, I think you have to put the Lions as the biggest threat to the San Francisco 49ers in all the NFL.
Yeah, Bart, I'm with you. It's the Lions all the way. This isn't a team that is going to let 30 years of not winning their division and 30 years of not having an at-home playoff game and winning that playoff game just go to the wayside. Jared Goff just got paid. He earned it. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a star now, starring in Netflix. He's a problem on the football field, but they also got David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamison Williams is ready to step up big, Sam Laporta. And I actually believe, guys, that Aiden Hutchinson has a chance to be in the conversation and potentially win Defensive Player of the Year. So I think the Lions are still the front runner there in the NFC North, and the Packers are trying to chase them.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to talk about recency bias here, they did go further in the postseason, so there's that. Thank you, guys.